Imagine waking up every day feeling energized, motivated, and ready to tackle your goals. What if I told you that you could train your brain to make this your reality? Today, we're going to explore how habits are formed, how they shape our lives, and how you can rewire your brain to create the life you want. Let's dive in.
Welcome to Daily Dose of Growth. I'm your host, Ryan Carthage. Today, we're going to explore how habits are formed, how they shape our lives, and how we can rewire our brains to create the life that we want. Um, can can I be honest with you guys? Can I be extremely transparent? I was super conflicted on what to talk about this morning, and so I was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, literally for 2 days on what to talk about, and it just came to me this morning. So I have some notes and I have some thoughts, and so we're going to roll with it. Um, and as always, I hope that the value is there for you guys. In this topic, we've talked about in different ways. So this session is going to be a little bit more sciency than others, but I hope it brings some value. So we're going to talk about the science of habits and brainwashing yourself to create the life you desire. Imagine waking up every day feeling energized and motivated and ready to tackle your goals. What if I told you that you can train your brain to make this your reality? And so today we're going to explore habits and how they're formed from a little different perspective. And I was researching. I told you guys, reading the book from Byron Katie, but I was also researching some other people and other topics that kind of go into some of the same ideas. And I got down a rabbit hole of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he talks about a lot of things. His background is a mix of neuroscience and epigenetics, and he's done some interesting studies. And so, like I said, we'll cover habits, the process of brainwashing ourselves positively, um, and then practical steps to implement these changes. And so, by the end of the session, I want to give us a couple different kind of ways to shape things, different perspectives, so that hopefully we can really start to bring these ideas together. And this stood out to me because in my study of him and some of these topics, it really gets down to the kind of the crux of what I desire to help people do, and really using myself as the guinea pig to help myself do, um, and anybody that's willing to listen to Ryan and his crazy ideas and thoughts to help them do as well. All right, you guys with me on this? You guys cool if I if I go down this rabbit hole a little bit? All right, all right. Um, so let's dive into understanding habits and what a habit really is. A habit, and this came from Dr. Joe Dispenza, a habit is a redundant set of automatic, unconscious thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that are acquired through repetition. In simpler forms, you've done something so many times that your body knows how to do it better than your mind, right? And it becomes a habit. And so let's take a moment and think about our morning routine. We've been talking about morning routines and how we do things, right? Most people, they wake up and immediately start thinking about their problems. These problems are memories that are stored in the brain connected to people, things, and places. And so since the brain is essentially a record of the past, thinking about these memories first thing in the morning puts you in a state of being that is rooted in the past. So when you think about these memories, each one triggers an emotion, right? Emotions are the end product of past experiences. Follow me on this. When you think about it, when you think about memories, each memory triggers an emotion. Emotions are the end product of past experiences. So recalling these memories makes us feel emotions associated with them, like unhappiness and pain. This means your entire state of being as you start your day is based on a past experience. So ultimately, you start your day living in the past. An example, right? If you wake up immediately thinking about a stressful meeting you had yesterday, your body starts to feel the same stress again. And this is because your mind is reliving the past event and your body is responding to it as if it's happening right now in this moment. Right? This cycle, it keeps you anchored in the past, making it hard for you to break free and create new positive habits. Most people then go through a series of routine behaviors, checking the phone, checking the email, checking social media, watching the news, reading the news on their phone, right? They get out of bed the same way, make coffee, shower, get dressed, drive to work on autopilot, right? Or go downstairs, get on the computer, just in autopilot. They see the same people who push the same emotional buttons, and this routine then becomes a program that runs automatically, right? So by the time we're 35, I'm 39, right? 95% of who we are is a set of memorized behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, and hardwired attitudes and beliefs. This means that only 5% of our conscious mind is involved in our daily decisions. 95% of what we do on a daily basis is based on the past. Only 5% of our conscious mind is involved in our daily decisions. Understanding this is when I was reading this, it blew my mind. But understanding this is critical because it shows us how deeply ingrained our habits are and why changing them can be so challenging. Right? The beautiful thing is that once you become aware of this, you can start to take control and create new habits that serve us better than living in the past. Right? So just recap this. Um, Habits are deeply ingrained patterns of thought, behaviors, and emotions acquired through repetition. They keep us stuck in the past if we're not careful. But with awareness and effort, we can break free from old habits and create new ones that align with the life that we truly desire internally. All right. So that sets the foundation for where we're going. Um, it sets the foundation for where we're going. All right. So the next piece of this is routine. Okay. So the power of routine and how it shapes our lives. So from the moment we wake up, most of us fall into that routine, right? Then we go through a series of habitual behaviors of getting out of the bed, making the coffee, showering, getting dressed, driving to work. We see the same people push the same buttons, same routines, right? That program is on autopilot. This routine is so deeply ingrained, right? We talk about that 95%. And think about this, right? How many times have you driven to work and realized that you don't remember the drive? I was driving somewhere yesterday and I caught myself not even remembering the drive. That's your brain operating on a habitual pattern, right? These routines are efficient, but they also keep us stuck in the past, repeating the same patterns over and over and over and over and over again, right? So the question is, how do we change this? How do we break free from this autopilot and make meaningful change? Number one, it starts with becoming aware, right? Becoming aware of the routines and understanding how they impact our lives, right? So, couple just steps. The first is awareness, becoming aware of the routines, paying attention to our daily habits, and noticing how much of our day is spent on autopilot. The majority of people are not aware. You guys are ahead of the game because we talk about this on a daily basis. So you're starting to become aware of a lot more than you did before, right? And you're becoming aware of it a lot sooner rather than later. But most people aren't even aware of the autopilot that they operate on a daily basis, right? So simply observing your behavior can help you to identify areas where you want to make change. Second thing that we can do to start to change this is setting intentions, being very clear, right? Once you're aware of your routines, setting a very clear and specific intention for what you want to change, right? Deciding which habits you want to break and which new ones you want to create. Being very, very, very specific about what you desire to achieve, right? Once you identify the ones you want to break, this is what I'm going to break, and this is what I'm going to do, and then staying focused and clear on what you're going to do. Not thinking back on what caused, understanding how they were caused is great, right? Understanding where they come from, who taught you them, and the history of them is great. And we need to do that to understand it so that we can know how we can continue to make that change and not reiterate those same things in our children and in our friends and in our community. But we have to be focused on where we're going, right? And not dwell on the reason that those things happened. So we have to set a clear intention, a clear focus for us to move in the opposite direction, right? The third piece of how we can change this is start small, right? And we talk about being 1% better every day, right? Everything isn't going to change at once. So starting small, making manageable changes one step at a time, and immersing yourself in that change, right? Immersing yourself in that change and focusing on progress, right? Another thing is using triggers, right? Use existing habits as triggers for new ones. The habit that you want to change, as soon as you identify it, as soon as you identify you feeling that way or saying that thing or doing that thing, immediately stop it and do the thing that you said you were going to do. Another is staying consistent, right? Consistency is the key in forming those new habits because what you're doing is not only are you making those new neuronic connections, but you're also changing the neurochemistry and the nervous system of your body, right? You're relabeling those experiences. And so consistency is key because you have to do it over an extended period of time in order to truly make that change. Because we've done these things for 35 plus years, right? Ryan, you've done these things for 39 years. So the consistency is key because you have to overcome those 39 plus years. And then, as we know, celebrating the progress. That celebration helps with the emotional connection to the nervous system, which has a stronger hold than something that's not celebrated, something that doesn't have that emotional connection, right? So the creating of the new routines are super powerful because they shape our daily lives and ultimately the future by becoming aware of the old routines and intentionally changing them, right? So we ultimately, what this says is we have the control to change those things once we become aware of them, right? So routines, now you got to brainwash yourself. You have to brainwash yourself for the success that you desire. Sounds intense, I know, right? But it's about reprogramming your mind to create the life that you desire. To make real change, you need to go beyond just the analytical mind, right? Which separates the conscious mind from the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the subconscious mind is where our deep-seated habits and beliefs and emotions live, right? And to access it and change those, you need a tool that allows you to bypass that analytical mind that's going to think about all the details, right? And that's where talk about the brainwashing comes in, but that's where meditation also comes in, right? But we have to immerse ourselves in that change. And so just like just like learning to walk, right? A baby learning to walk. The baby's trying to figure out this whole movement thing. But not only is the baby trying to figure out the movement thing, but the parents are trying to figure out how to get the baby to walk. The siblings are trying to help figure out how to help the baby to walk. And so you're putting things in place around the baby to help them to gain their stability, and you're encouraging them and you're celebrating them to take that first step. You're brainwashing them to believe that they can do it. So just like brainwashing a baby to learn to believe that they can walk, we have to brainwash ourselves to believe that we can do the things that we say we desire. We have to brainwash ourselves to believe and know that our success is here, that our future is here now. So by practicing meditation, you can slow down your brain waves and enter that operating system of the subconscious mind, right? When you meditate, you you move from a beta brainwave state, which is associated with active thinking and problem solving, to an alpha and theta state, which is where which are more relaxed and open to suggestion, the brain waves. And this state of alpha and theta is where the real change can happen. That's why the journaling first thing in the morning, right, is so important, because as soon as you wake up, you're still in that alpha theta state, and you're able to impact the brain is more open to suggestion at that moment, or at those moments, the first 5 to 15, 20 minutes that you're awake, before you start searching your phone and inputting all of these things that push your mind to that awake, active state, right? Meditation allows you to quiet the mind and focus on reprogramming your thoughts and beliefs, right? It creates a state of calm and openness, which makes it easier to introduce new positive ideas and habits into the subconscious mind, right? Um, a different definition that I got on meditation is to become familiar with, to become familiar with, right? And so in meditation, if meditation is to become familiar with, right? We either become familiar with the feelings and emotions of the past, or we become familiar with the feelings and emotions of the future. And so if we take that time of meditation, slowing down and going into the alpha theta state to focus on the life that we desire, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but if we focus on that, what it feels like, what it sounds like, what it smells like, of where we're going, we're allowing our body to become familiar with that future self. And the body and the brain doesn't know what's real or fake. And so what you give it, it takes. And so now we're putting ourselves in that future state today. Right? Most people wait for a crisis or a trauma to make a significant change in their lives. Right? They wait until the pain of suffering is so great. Right? They wait until they're in pain and they're suffering to finally decide that it's something that needs to change. But do you really have to wait until you're in pain or suffering to change? Do you have to wait until there's crisis to do something different? Because the only thing that's different from a situation of pain and crisis and a situation of calm and excitement is the motivation. The only thing that's different is the motivation. The pain is so great that you're motivated to change now. The circumstances around you are still the same. I think I told you this, right? A story about the guy doing a speech to real estate investors, right? Asked how many people are going to make $1 million this year. And only a couple raised their hand. And then he said, your life is in jeopardy. If you don't make $1 million, you'll die. How many people are going to make $1 million? And everybody raised their hand. Same thing. We don't have to wait until there's a crisis to change. We can be proactive in that change, right? Why wait until there's a health scare to start eating healthy? Why wait for a major setback at work to start improving your skills? Why wait for a relationship breakdown to start working on your communication? We don't need to wait for pain and suffering to motivate us. Instead, we can choose to change in a state of joy and inspiration instead of pain and suffering. And what happens is if you do it in a state of joy and inspiration, it actually takes hold a lot better. Because you're focused on the joy and the inspiration, not the pain and the suffering. So that reticular activation system is going to focus on the joy and inspiration and help you find ways to continue to integrate that joy and inspiration. So how can we start brainwashing ourselves for success? Right? We talked about setting clear intentions, deciding what you want and being very, very clear and specific about that. Using meditation 10 to 15 minutes a day to start to become familiar with the person you desire to become. Visualization during meditation, vividly imagine yourself achieving the goals, right? Seeing it, feeling it, and experiencing it in your mind then translates to your body. I also heard this, Dr. Joe Dispenza said, your body is the subconscious mind. I never heard that before, right? When the body understands an experience better than the brain, right? What we're talking about at the very beginning, the body becomes a subconscious mind. The body is now programmed to do it before the brain even thinks about it, because it automatically releases those chemicals when certain stimulus present themselves. And you don't even have to think about it anymore. So the body is the subconscious mind. The nervous system is the subconscious mind. So we can then reprogram that nervous system through meditation, visualization, affirmations, using positive affirmations to reinforce the new beliefs and habits, right? Repeating the statements to help you to trigger the thoughts that then trigger the chemical reaction in the body until the body understands the experience better than the brain, right? And then practicing gratitude. Gratitude shifts the mindset. It literally changes the makeup of the brain and the chemical release, right? Being grateful for the things that you have, and it shifts you from a mindset of scarcity to abundance, and opens you up to more positive experiences, because again, you're shifting that reticular activation system to identify the things that you do have, not focused on the things that you don't. And then consistency, 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 to reprogram the subconscious mind or reprogram the body to help you achieve the goals. So by positively brainwashing ourselves, the other things you can do, right? And this is something that I'm actually um going to start today, is not just writing these things and keeping them at your desk, but literally writing them everywhere. Writing them on the mirrors in your house. We have a chalkboard wall. I'm gonna write them, the goals, the vision, on the chalkboard wall, so that it literally can be seen everywhere that I am. Literally immersing myself in the experience, so that my brain isn't able to think about anything different outside of the clear, direct focus on where I'm going. Just think about it, right? Think about the last time that you achieved something that you at one point thought was unsurmountable. Think about it. The last time that you did something that you or others thought was insurmountable, what did you do? For me, I had a laser focus on that thing. I had a laser focus on that thing, and nothing would stop me from completing it. We have to have a laser focus on where we're going, and we have to do it consistently. We have to immerse ourselves in that experience, so that without thinking about it, our body knows what it smells like, what it feels like, what it sounds like, what it feels like. When we hear certain sounds, it triggers that chemical release in the body of what that future person is going to experience. So now let's talk about another aspect of this process, right? This personal growth journey, and this overcoming trauma and emotional reactions, right? Many people struggle to move past traumatic experiences because they consistently rehearse these events in their minds, right? Like I said, the stronger the emotional reaction to an experience, the more our brains are focused on it. because it's more ingrained in the nervous system. And that then the brain takes a snapshot of that experience, and that is put in the long-term memory storage, and that creates that lasting memory that we have. And this is what keeps us stuck in this loop of negative emotion, and it hinders the progress. Right? And so when we keep recalling the traumatic event, we're reinforcing the emotional state associated with it. And this repeated rehearsal wires the experience into our brain and into our body. And each time we relive that event, we strengthen the neural pathways connected to the emotion, making it even harder to then move on. Right? This links back to the very beginning. Right? And this process can lead to prolonged emotional states, right? And prolonged emotional states are called moods or temperaments, right? And then the longer that mood lasts, the longer the mood lasts, right? Then 3, 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years, based on that original emotional experience, now it becomes a personality trait. They're just angry. Started out just as an emotional state, an emotional response to something, then became a mood. Mood became a temperament. The temperament then became a personality trait because you continue to replay the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, never choosing to change it. And then you get to a point where you pass that same personality trait to your children, and now people call that a generational curse. When in reality, it just started with an experience that was just an emotional response that somebody never chose to change. And so to break free from this cycle, we need to shorten what's called the refractory period of the emotional reaction. The refractory period is the time it takes for us to return to a balanced emotional state after experiencing a strong emotion. Right? By shortening this period, we can stop living in survival mode and start selecting a more positive outcome. Becoming aware sooner rather than later. Right? And so steps on shortening that refractory period and overcoming the trauma, the emotional trauma of a situation. Right? The first thing, again, is awareness. Becoming aware of the emotional reaction. Notice when you're reliving a past event and how it affects your mood and your behavior. Simply being aware of this process can help us to start to change it. Notice when you've told yourself the same story about an experience 5 times, or you've replayed that scenario 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Hey, we're replaying this past event. How is it making me feel? How is it changing my behavior? How is it changing my attitude? Second thing you can do is interrupt the pattern, right? When you catch yourself rehearsing a negative experience, interrupt the pattern. You can do this by shifting the focus to something positive, right? Engaging in physical activity, right? Practicing deep breathing to calm your mind, but changing the physiology. Immediately interrupt the pattern when you notice it. The third thing is then reframing the experience, right? Changing the label, reframing the traumatic event in a way that empowers you, right? Look for the lessons or the strengths that you gain from the experience. And this can help you to change the perspective and reduce that emotional charge associated with the memory. Changing the label, so then now as you remember it in the future, you have something else to point to opposed to the negative experience that you originally had. Then again, practicing gratitude, right? Being appreciative for the experience because of what it taught you and how you're able to become a better person because of it, right? Shifting the mindset from the negative to the positive makes it a little bit easier to get past those traumas. And then again, meditation and visualization, right? Changing the physiology, changing the mental state, focusing on where you're going and how this experience can help you on that path. And then visualizing how to implement the lessons of that experience to become the person that you desire to become. And then, if needed, seek support, right? If you're struggling to move past a traumatic event, considering speaking to someone, right? Be it a circle, a coach, a counselor, to help you to rethink the situation, to find the things that help you and that serve you in the experience on your journey to growth, right? Overcoming trauma and emotional reactions, it's really essential in this growth journey that we're on in creating the life that we desire. And by becoming aware of our emotional patterns and actively working to shorten that refractory period, you can truly break free and start living in the present moment instead of living in the past. The goal is to stop living in survival mode and begin selecting more positive outcomes and living in the present. Because our power is here and now. Our power isn't in the past. Our power isn't even honestly in the future. Our power is now. Right now, in this moment, is the only moment that we have the ability to choose what we do. The future we can't fully control just yet, but the future is controlled by the actions that we take today. So our power lives in this moment. And then so how all this comes together, right? Neuroplasticity, we've talked about, is the brain's ability to reorganize itself and form new neural connections, right? New neural pathways, right? And when you repeatedly think, feel, and act in a certain way, you strengthen the corresponding neural pathways. And this now is what forms that habit in the brain and then in the body, right? And to change a habit, you need to break the old neural connections to create new ones. And this requires constantly making different choices, right? Practicing new behaviors until they become automatic. And the steps to do that we've talked about and we've already gone over: clear intentions, meditation, start small, being consistent, and celebrating progress. So remember, remember. You have the power to create the life that you desire. And you have the power to do that by changing the habits and reprogramming your mind. It's not an easy journey. It's not. You have to go back in your past and address some things that have happened to you and decisions that you've made, and address people that have made decisions in your childhood and understand how those things are connected to you to create the habits that you have today and then choose to do something different with them. But with consistent effort, the right tools, we can truly transform our lives. Changing our habits really involves understanding and leveraging the power of neuroplasticity and understanding how the body works and the true control that we have over our bodies, and how it's not to be given to the outside world, but is to look within. And it requires breaking old patterns and forming new ones and staying committed to the process of growth. It's about taking small, consistent steps every single day that ultimately lead to an avalanche of long term change, right? We've explored the importance of being proactive rather than waiting for a crisis to focus on change. And by using tools like meditation, visualization, mindfulness, we can truly start to create those positive changes right now in this moment. So, understanding our habits, right? Recognizing how deeply ingrained habits, how deeply ingrained they are in the role that they play in our daily lives. Identifying and changing routines that no longer serve us. Brainwashing yourself using meditation, positive visualization to reprogram your subconscious mind, which is your body. Shortening the refractory period, right? Overcoming the trauma, shorten the refractory period of an emotional reaction to break free from the past. And then harnessing the brain's ability to form new neural connections and creating long lasting change. Those are the keys. That's Mindset Monday, good people. The door's open. Thoughts, feedback, questions. I'm all ears.
You just said the door was open. What up, though?
What's the deal, Joy?
Not much. Um, it's funny, as you were going through your conversation, I did blank out because memories start hitting me in a flash, like old memories. Yeah, I do hold on to that. Dang, dang. It was just flashing like a movie. And I can say one thing for me that helps is meditation. I think it has um saved my life over the last 6 months. Haven't been very consistent, but in a pattern it was, but I'm not doing it. I'm not called upon it on need. I'm doing it. Okay, let me take my time. I know it's time. Let me do it. Like I have a routine. Some days I'm like, I don't have time to meditate today. But what I started learning how to do was meditating while I was working.
Mm.
And it's been awesome. It's been awesome because I started noticing that subconsciously I didn't realize I was storing that energy in my body until I started feeling the stress and different things going on, along with, nature of elderly age coming with me. But meditation is the key to clear your mind, to regain focus and understanding of self, and being accepting of others is what I've came down to.
Mm. Mm.
I can't control them. I can only control my emotions and myself. And I was a very angry lady. I was very angry. Matter of fact, I don't know. Might take a good switch, might turn off. But I have the control to turn it off. And I utilized that this weekend.
Look at you.
I had to be at an event. We do this every year. We're a group of friends. We do this every year, but it's one friend. I'm sorry. My pettiness kicks in because they hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
I gave this person a home. I helped this person get rid of back child support. Oh, I stood up for this person. And all in all, this person never gave the same fight for me as I did for them. So it's taken me a little bit. I have a rule, and I don't know why. And I'm trying to, as you said, I'm trying to get rid of this rule, which is, I don't know. I never say this to everybody here, but the reason why I have, how can I say this? The reason why it's hard for me to connect with women because I never had a relationship with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And if I haven't forgiven my mother yet, I'm not forgiving you. That's about as much respect that I can give her.
Yeah.
So this person, they was trying. And I knew my husband set me up because I didn't drive. Normally I drive. Because I'd be like, 15 minutes, I'm out. Fix my plate, I'm gone. Yeah, he set me up. So I didn't drive and I had to stay there. So I had to meditate while we was watching Divorce in Black, which became a comedy for us.
Mm.
So I'm going to utilize my 2 fingers to myself. And well, dang, that didn't sound right. Y'all got to see the movie. Y'all got to see the movie to understand what I'm talking about. But I had to meditate while being actively conscious what's going on, and it's a skill that one needs to learn to keep focused. I just wanted to share that.
We appreciate you, Joy. We appreciate you. It's major, right? We can do it at any point. We can take that time, and it's a practice. It's a practice. The more you do it, the better you become. Right? To be able to take those small moments throughout the day, in the middle of chaos. We appreciate you. We always appreciate your transparency on your journey. So thank you.
Sure.
Any other thoughts, feedback?
Good morning.
Miss K, good morning.
So, on what Joy just said, I know that meditation really saved my life 5 years ago. And I started doing it. The struggle, you said something though. I mean, I love, and I start out so when you were going through the steps in terms of habit formation, it's stuff that I do every morning. And so it sets my day up. I really appreciated how you talked about emotions being like a reflection of the past. And so I've been intentional about my mornings, except for this morning, because a struggle that I have had over the past several months is scrolling. And I was doing really well. I mean, part of, I make excuses for it sometimes because I'll say, well, okay, so my daughter will post on IG, like, she doesn't do it a lot. She may do, once a day, if that, but she's out of the country. And so I said, I want to see what my daughter's doing. I want to see what she's doing and what she's experiencing. And if I don't talk to her. And so I was doing okay up until yesterday, and when all the crap hit the fan. And I wasted so much time yesterday. And you said something toward the end, Ryan. You said, our bodies like are not to be given to the outside world. And as soon as you said that, I said, that's exactly what I did yesterday. That is totally what I did. And there's a scripture that says, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I wrote, like, as soon as you said that, I said, oh my God, that's exactly what I did yesterday. Like, I just gave, and instead of, I knew I was aware, you know, I was getting some stuff done, and I was talking to my friend, and she said, oh my God, you know, and then just the whole thing. And I said, I got to find out what's going on. Just wasted so much time. And what I should have done is just paying attention to me being aware of what was getting ready to happen, but I ignored it. And so expressing it as in me giving up myself to this outside force that does not care. When I say I'm not talking about like the universe and God taking care of me. I'm talking about the influences that don't have my best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And so that's what I thought about when you said that. And it just derailed my night, and where I could have been doing something to fuel myself and to move myself forward. And so that statement that you said was, it made it seem like that I was like, I threw myself out there like a piece of meat. Like, and so I just I'm glad in terms of the struggle that you had in terms of what to talk about. I'm glad you talked about this. So thank you.
Glad it was helpful. And it's easy to get derailed. It is. It is. But giving yourself grace through the process, right? And acknowledging it, and then resetting. Deion Sanders, he said in an interview, he said, I forget what the question was, but he was like, yes, I get upset. Yes, I get off track. But I'll never allow a bad minute, a bad play, a bad hour to disrupt the full 24. That's my choice. So it's our choice, right? To acknowledge it, to be aware of it, shrink that refractory period of that emotional response, right? To whatever the stimulus is, the distraction is, right? And find a way to shift. It happens all the time. You're not alone, Miss K. You're not. It happened to me. It happened to me the past 2 days. So I definitely understand, and I appreciate your transparency through the process. But it is just about becoming aware of it, right? And being open to different things, right? Be it conversations like this, or even things in your environment that might give you that trigger. Say, hey, wake up, right? And then bringing yourself back to identify, okay, this is where I was. Now let's change it, right? Interrupting that pattern. So appreciate you, Miss K. Appreciate you big time. Miss Yacina, good morning.
Hey, morning, everybody. Yeah, it's funny how you're just saying that, because I talked to my psychologist. I have an hour session with her every Monday, which is really great for me because if I'm having a really low week, then I always look forward to sort of talking through it every week. But she was saying to me this morning, funny enough, you're talking about this, is like, how do I normally cope with situations because I was talking to her about if something plays out in your life that gets you on a low mood that day, and how do I cope with getting through that? Because I've been through the experience where you dwell on it, and as you dwell on it throughout the day, you get more deflated. And then I wouldn't want to do anything, wouldn't want to talk to anybody. I wouldn't want to be productive in something. And so it's funny because, over the years, I've learned to have to combat that. And you're saying about what this person was saying, I'm like that. If I feel that I've starting off with a low mood, I don't let it control the rest of my day. So I try to, overcome that by whether it's keeping myself busy or calling someone. I'm lucky enough to have a lot of people in my life. So I might feel, I want to talk to that person or that person. And that's how I deal with it. I have to move through it. And I've learned to actually move through things like that. And I used to use meditation like Joy, but it doesn't work for me in that sense. My prayer is meditation.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I use for my meditation. But otherwise, that's how I manage it. And I found that it's taken a while, but I've learned to manage and control that, so I don't allow things to get into my day. But so by the time I get to bed at the end of the day, I'm carrying it over to the next day. So I've learned to sort of control it in that way, so I don't allow moods to any low mood where I know that it's going into depression to get a hold of me, and that's how I control it.
That's beautiful.
It's really great that you've said that, and you were saying this saying that this person used about not allowing it to get into the dead 24-hour day, and that's how I look at it and control it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Appreciate your transparency there, and it's huge, right? On that journey, just understanding the different ways that you can ultimately take your power back.
right. Yeah.
Right?
Whereas before it would be, that mood would take me in such despair. And then you realize that this is going into the next day and the next day, then it's a week that you've been feeling like that. And then you get even lower, and it's like you just feel that there's no way forward. So
Right.
learning to take control of that. I use lots of things, meditation, CBT. I've tried all these things to see what worked for me and how I can manage it. And that's how I managed to get through it and cope with it.
Kudos to you for
Thank
going
you
down that path.
bringing that up.
Absolutely, you're welcome, and appreciate your transparency there. And it's, like I said, it's practice and it's a process, right? It's a process, and going through the process to identify the ways that you can change and the things that help and the different ways that they help in different situations, right? Because it's not a this life, this experience that we're living, it's not a one size fits all, right? It's different things apply to different situations, and being able to go through that experience to apply them and learn from it and learn how to apply it differently as you continue to go. So that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate you.
Wait a minute. Y'all seem to hit on something. One thing that worked, that helped me with the meditation, was grounding. So I started it's a place here in Detroit, well, one of our suburbs. It's called Inception. It's a mental gym. And so you start off in this zero gravity chair and it has the grounding in there. And I didn't know what grounding was until we got to the second step, which was they take these wires onto my head, and thank God I ain't got no hair. And so what happens is they put on the tranquil, and now that I think about it, they put on beta music, and what happens is it tells you that she says, empty your mind. I said, what happened if I don't? She said, you'll find out. It zapped me. It zapped me because I went to a negative thought. So whatever part of the brain that was, it zapped me to say, hey, get back on track. And I said, dang, she could have, it didn't zap. It wasn't like an electrocution zap. It was just, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting back on track. And then the last part is flotation. So you're in this pod and it's full of Epsom salt because that magnesium helps balance you and everything. And I think locally in Amazon, it's a grounding mat is what it's called. You can get one for your bed. You can get one for your office chair. I'm in the process of getting one because I miss going to the mental gym. But that grounding, and if you can't grounding, just feet in the grass, feet on ground, just one in nature. And it just, and it took me sitting in one of our local parks, busy road, sitting under a tree, I didn't even meditate. I just looked and sat in quiet. And I learned how to manipulate my brain to, as they would call them, mommy years. When you're a mama, you hear mama, you could just tune that fourth mama out. You don't even hear them no more. It's just like that. It's just like that. So yeah, grounding mats help, and it helps me focus.
It's funny that you're saying that, Joy, about grounding, because one of the things I found is when I'm in the garden and I'm playing around in the soil and doing that, it really helps me as well. So it's good grounding, feeling the earth, getting in tune with the earth, like you said, sitting under a tree. It's has a benefit, definitely.
It
does. There's so much science behind it, man. It's amazing. It really is. From the grounding to the float spas. If you haven't had a chance to try some of those things that Joy just mentioned, I definitely suggest it. It's definitely a good way to help your mind and your body reset and refocus.
Because that Epsom salt removes the toxins out your body too, so even if you can't, to be honest, I didn't want to pay $135 to float in somebody water, and I got water at home. You got water at the house. And if you can't do it, just fill your tub up with more than 2 cups of Epsom salt. Get you some eucalyptus oil and put it in the burner. Turn some nice yacht loft music on.
Yeah.
Hey,
I have a subscription to the float spa, so
I'm telling you, close your ears. Don't let the waters in. You don't want no ear infection. I'm telling you, you'll forget what day it was. I promise you.
In the float spa is where I have, honestly, some of my best, clearest meditation and visualization sessions. And I do them for an hour at a time. Next time I go, I actually plan on doing 2 hours, but it's a beautiful experience. Any other thoughts, feedback, questions?
Morning, everybody. I think it was really, really good. It helped me to think through a lot of stuff. And the one question I have is, once you take yourself, like if you're practicing a lot of this stuff all the time, and then you get a situation, it is so automatic when, like, the triggers of all things that happen becomes it's surprising how automatic it just hits. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, it is.
That is such a scary thing, though, you know.
So I feel you on it being scary, but you can also look at it like it's the test to see if that trigger is still a trigger, right? And if it triggers you, you know that there's still just some work to do, right? If you have that emotional response, once you identify and acknowledge and become aware of that emotional response, okay, now let's change it. But we can go back and say, okay, why did this trigger me? Why is this still a trigger to me, right? And go down that line of questioning to understand where that emotional connection still lies so that you can address the root of that trigger. Because most times we haven't addressed the root of the trigger, right? Most times in those emotional situations, I'll speak for me, just try to move past it instead of addressing it. And so, well, at some point, that root is going to come into question. And we'll have to go back and address the root of the situation, right? To be able to then move through the trigger so that no longer is a trigger. And we can then better implement the things that we're learning, right? And that's where the process and the practice comes in. And also giving yourself grace, because it's difficult because it's so automatic and it's just ingrained in the nervous system. When this happens, respond this way, right? And it's not a thought until we start to think. And then that response slows down to now we can interrupt. And then that first thought that we had, now we think about it and we choose differently with the second thought. Right? So it's slowing down the process until we can interrupt the process to change the thought. And then the more we're able to interrupt the process and change the second thought, the more we do that interruption change, then the more that second thought now becomes automatic. Right? And that's that being consistent and going through the process and just becoming aware of it sooner so that we can change it faster, right? And we don't dwell on it as long. And then over time, you tip the scale in the other direction. But it's just about continuing to work on it, continuing to become aware of self. It's a process. It's a process, though.
Yeah, thank
It
you.
really is.
The one thing that I love what you said in the beginning is that you our thoughts, you know, whatever we do today is based on, you know, our thoughts, something to that effect. But moving into the now, like, I think I've been trying to really, last week was one of the first time I recognized that I really need to live in the future every day as opposed to living in the past.
Yeah.
So that was really, really good to keep holding that as a new awareness.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome. No, that's major. It's major. We appreciate you. Appreciate you. Making those small shifts.
All right, just a quick one.
Yes, sir. Jeremy, what's up?
I'm good. How are you?
Well,
Yeah, so it's quite interesting that you spoke about the issue of the mind, and sometimes we don't know what we think about, especially when you're driving. And this man, one of my goal is to basically slow down and think. And I kind of recognize that most of the time I don't really think about what I think about, right?
yeah.
And so I kind of recognize that it is important for me to know what I am thinking about in order to arrive at where I want to be, because I become what I think about. And so having the awareness of what I am thinking is really important so that I can adjust any negative thought that will creep in to inhibit my progress. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, man. We don't think about what we think about. It's true. It's truth, man. It's truth. It's just automatic. It's just automatic. So kudos to you, man, for being aware of that and taking that step back to question what you think about. Like the majority of people, they don't do that. We don't. We just go with whatever's easy, whatever comes natural, instead of questioning those beliefs and questioning those thoughts. So kudos to you, man. I'll give you another challenge, and this might help you just being present in the moment. This is something that I had to do myself when I was working for General Motors. I gave this challenge to one of my other leaders: is drive a different route to work. Drive a different route to work and see how you feel. Pay attention to your body's response and your
Thank you.
mind's response. It's interesting when we push ourselves outside of our comfort zone. But appreciate you, man. Appreciate you big time. Any other thoughts, feedback before we wrap it up? No. Appreciate the conversation, good people. And I appreciate you guys going with me on this journey today. It's definitely been an interesting weekend. So I appreciate you guys. And I appreciate you guys kicking with me for extra 30 minutes. As always, let today be a building block. Let today be a building block and a cornerstone in the foundation of your success, in the foundation of your life. Find your 1% today. That's Mindset Monday, people. You guys have a phenomenal day. Peace.
Thank you, and we appreciate you and Benny so much as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thanks, Ryan.